This may have been one of the best video game adaptations I have ever seen. The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, finally dropped on Sunday. And here's the stigma about video game adaptations into movies or TV shows. Usually they are a product that tries to retell the story of the actual video game, and it doesn't even end up happening at all in general, or it's just done really poorly, or it is the name of a video game that takes place with completely different characters and a completely different story, almost as if you are not even watching the video game in the first place. Whenever a video game movie or TV show is announced nowadays, I don't trust it. And I think we have a very good reason not to trust video game adaptations today, because 95% of the time, if not more, they all end up being terrible. But oh my God, am I thoroughly and happily impressed with what they have done with this Last of Us show. Like I said to open up this video, it may have been the best video game adaptation I have ever seen in my life. And we're only one episode in. Of course, being one episode in, there is so much that could happen. It could only get better from here. It could potentially get worse from here, but speaking solely based off of the first episode we got, there is no reason that any of us should be upset with what we got on Sunday night. Now, I like The Last of Us. I think it is a beautifully done game. I think the first game is a classic and belongs in the top 20 games of all time. I think the second one is okay. I don't think it's amazing. I think the gameplay is very good, but I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the first one. When I look at Naughty Dog, I look at a video game company who has a lot of success making very popular video games. Crash Bandicoot, The Last of Us, and Uncharted. And when I look at their video games, I'm not even gonna lie to you here, I like Uncharted more than I like The Last of Us. Personally, for me, I find more enjoyability playing the Uncharted games than I do the Last of Us games, but let me just tell you right now, there's something Uncharted couldn't do, and that was make a good video game adaptation into a movie. I don't even need to see the Uncharted movie to know it's complete rubbish. The Last of Us? Nah, far from it. This thing is getting 9s and 10s out of 10s. And deservedly so. Right now on IMDb, and once again, I know one episode, we still got 8 more, but on IMDb, it's got a 9.5 out of 10. It absolutely deserves that because it's done nothing to prove that it's worse. Now, like I said, I'm not a die-hard fan of The Last of Us, but I'm a big enough fan to know about the world and to remember key moments in each video game. I swear to God, it was like watching the video game without playing the video game. That's how shot for shot it was. Yes, there were moments in the show that were not in the game. Yes, there were certain things that they changed from game to show, but that's fine because a lot of the things they changed are not integral to the story or even, in fact, the scenes that translate from game to show. They don't do anything to change the story or to change the tone and atmosphere that The Last of Us gave you in video game form. If anything, some of these minor changes that they made for the TV show actually mold the world a little bit more now, because that's something a TV show or even a movie has over a video game. You can really dive into some of these details that maybe you couldn't do in a video game, because usually in video games, you just want to get right into the gameplay and the action. I've played the first Last of Us game at least 2 or 3 times, and when his daughter Sarah dies at the beginning of the game, it's always a very sad moment, and it immediately submerges you into the world you're about to play for the next 10 to 12 hours, because now you know what to expect. You're expecting dark and depressing. And the way they captured that in this series, not only was Pedro Pascal doing an amazing job executing Joel, not only did Nico Parker put in a lot of soul into what she was doing in that death scene, not only was that scene as a whole literally shot for shot identical to the game, but it made you feel like you've never played the game before. It almost made you feel like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe she's gonna die. Even if you've played the game and you know she's gonna die. The emotional impact this series already has on us fans is very important to keep in mind, because if they can keep that going for the rest of the series and moving on into future seasons, that's huge. Even the small interaction we've been getting between Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey as Joel and Ellie is fantastic to begin. I can't wait to see more from them as the show goes on. I saw someone compare the video game and the show from when Joel went to go relax on his couch in the apartment just after meeting Ellie, and the similarities are literally on point, but at the same time, I think the series actually executes it better than the video game. And I'm not saying the video game has done it bad in any way, because it didn't. But what I'm saying is I feel like the series gives it a little more life. I feel like this is where you're capable of getting true form acting. Sometimes when you play video games and you listen to dialogue or you watch cutscenes, you can take them for granted. Sometimes dialogue and cutscenes are a little rushed, and like I said, you don't really notice it because you're so eager to get back into the gameplay. With a live action adaptation in movie or series, you finally get the opportunity to dive into those moments of dialogue and make it feel more impactful than it ever has been. And I'm not saying that the Last of Us games in their own right aren't cinematic masterpieces, because they certainly do look beautiful, and they do definitely cater more to the narrative side of things, but there is something that Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal have been bringing to these characters that makes it feel so fun and authentic to watch. Now, the one thing I will say that I think is disappointing, and everyone knows about it at this point, the articles are everywhere if you want to read up on them, and to be honest with you, I actually haven't read up on it, so I don't know if there's a reason that they've done this. I've just seen the subheadings and I just know they're not in the show. For whatever reason, the spores aren't in the show, and I don't know why. Doesn't really make sense to me. So this part of the video is actually going to be a little bit longer, me talking about the spores, but funny enough, while I was editing this video, I came across an interview with Craig Mazin, who is the show creator for TV. Without going into way too much scientific detail, the point is that with spores, they travel, they're in the air, they're in the atmosphere. Spores would not be a thing that just isolate and sit in one area. And in a realistic world, spores would travel, and the majority, if not all of the population in The Last of Us would probably be dead or turned within hours. So as of right now, there doesn't seem to be a plan on bringing spores into the TV show. Maybe they will in the future. Not sure how they're going to make it work. Maybe they create a new infected that can literally spew out spores and they dissipate over time. Not sure if there's a way around it, but after watching this interview, it makes a lot of sense, and I understand it so much more now. But overall, I just gotta say, this is how you do it. This is how you make a video game into a series, into a movie. The music is exactly the same. I can't stress this enough how shot for shot it is. The acting is super authentic. There are shots in this show that I'm thinking to myself, I played this. And am I playing it right now? Where's my controller? That part where the chaos is ensuing and they're first leaving their house and Tommy's driving the truck with Joel in the passenger and Sarah in the back seat, and the way the camera is sitting in the truck looking around and looking at the environment around them, it was straight from the video game. Like, it's just so damn good. I mean, I don't play The Witcher, guys. I played Witcher 3, didn't really think there was anything special about the game. I know a lot of people love it. I know a lot of people were excited when they made The Witcher show. Maybe The Witcher can take some pointers. Maybe they can look at The Last of Us and say, oh, this is how you make a video game related show or movie. And nowadays, of course, we're living in a world where TV shows, movies, any form of entertainment is huge. People want to make everything nowadays when it comes to readapting sequels, remakes, reboots, video games, books. With that being said, with these upcoming video game shows or movies we will get in the future, I think you have to look at how it's been handled with The Last of Us so far. There are, of course, rumors of a Fallout TV show. There's been rumors for such a long time about Call of Duty movies and Grand Theft Auto movies. There's been rumors for quite some time. One that I would really love to see, like love to see. It would be one of my favorite projects to ever release to mankind. Mass Effect. There's obviously more I'm not mentioning here, but if these shows and these movies are to get made, if they are to move forward with production, they do need to look at The Last of Us, how it's starting so far, how it's looking, how they're keeping true to the source material, and they have to do the same thing with the project they're working on. Months ago, and I'm talking months ago, maybe even a year ago now, I made a video on this channel on why video game movies and shows don't work and why they always end up being really bad. And I don't know if I said it in that video, but I'm gonna say it here. I understand the argument of taking a video game, adapting it into live action, and not wanting to go with what you're given in the game, because for a vast majority who have played the game, they already know what's going to happen. I would argue you have even more of a vast majority who have never played the video game. There are still a lot of people out there nowadays who don't play video games, so they have no idea what happens in the game, and a lot of them won't play the game. I understand a lot of these producers, directors, and studios want to put their own creative twists on video games into live action form, but just don't do it. There is definitive proof over the ages, the past 20, 30 years, why that method does not work. If you're going to make a video game, strip it from the game and put it in show. There is absolutely nothing wrong with dabbling with some of the dialogue, making some scenes for some filler, and changing around some scenes to make it look more real and authentic. But don't be going around changing characters and changing story, because it does not work, and it's been proven not to work ever. So far, this show is like a 98% exact replica of the game, and you don't see anybody complaining, so that clearly works. So do it. All you future video game adapters into live action of the future, do this. Do it. I promise you, it will turn out better than you trying to change it. I think there's a lot of things to discuss with this show too. Like, after season 1, are they just gonna jump right into season 2 being The Last of Us 2? Are they potentially going to make seasons that take place in between games 1 and 2? Because we know there is another big time jump there. Let me know in the comments below what you think on that as well. But that is all I got for you on this one, guys. So until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.